All right.
We're going live. We're going live.
Hi.
We're live. Hi,
You're
how are
here.
you? Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
Oh my God, talk about the queens of spontaneity here. So
Yeah, who'd have thought, man? We're psychic. I
I
mean,
know. I mean,
wow.
36 hours ago, this wasn't even planned. So,
Or thought of.
or thought of. Exactly. So thanks everybody. Thanks for coming to my channel. I have Shari Voices from the Swamp with me. And I don't even know if I'm gesturing in the right direction. I'm on StreamYard. My cameras are all cattywampus, so it's just
Yep.
a little ball of fur.
Just
But
think, go backwards.
that's right. So
Left is right and right is left.
exactly. And so questions are just kind of, I don't know. If you sent in a question for me, thank you so much. And I probably couldn't find it because between posting it on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, I don't even know if the posts went up. I did everything so fast. But so, Shari, before we get going, why don't you tell everybody your big news about your channel?
I am now, I just went over 1,000 yesterday, which
So great.
what started me, I was chatting with Marina, was like, hey, what you doing tomorrow night? And so
Nice.
we wound up with a group. I was on my channel earlier to just kind of celebrate. And I had already told my subscribers that when I hit 1,000, I was going to do a drawing for a free reading.
Nice.
And Aiden reads tarot. Um, he showed me where to go to get the thingy that does it automatically. You
Nice.
could just log it into your chat or whatever, and it'll read all the names, and then it'll do an automatic shuffle, and boop, it'll pop out a winner.
Oh,
But I
so
couldn't get it to work, so I don't know what I did wrong. I'm gonna have to get on there and play with it and figure out what I screwed up. So I told everybody, okay, so what I'll do is I'll just go back to the chat and I'll write all the names down and put them in a hat, and I'll do it the old-fashioned way,
yeah.
and I'll
But
just do it on camera like I did last time. So
but you're well over 1,000 now. Didn't you just tell me you
I
hit
am.
another milestone?
I just checked. I'm at 1223.
Great.
1223. I'm like in la la land. It's like this is not real. It's I'm for the longest time I just kind of had plateaued and stayed at that same little level for a long, long, long. He's like, oh come on, man. I'd go up a few, go back down a few, go up a few, go back down a few. And I was like, if I could just get to that 1,000, maybe like 1,010, so that the same five that keep subscribing and unsubscribing won't mess me up. And then this morning I checked it; it was at 1,100. I was like, oh my god! And then by the time I got off work, it was at 1,200.
Oh,
I was like,
congratulations.
this is wild. I mean,
That's so great. Well,
and
clear.
I've been trying to go back through and to all the comments that have been made by people that I don't know yet,
Yeah.
new subscribers, that have all commented on the video that I did with Linda and Mel the other night. And it's like, oh my God, there's so many. I'm used to having 10 people to respond to, and I'm done, in a couple of minutes. I've
Yeah.
been working on it all day and I can't seem to catch up.
Well, that's a good problem to have. That's a
Yes,
really
it is. Yes, it is.
good problem to have. And that just means that the people really love you and that you're really catching fire. I'm so happy for you. I like your channel too. I mean, I like all the stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. I
Yeah.
enjoy watching you. So
Oh, it's fun. It's fun, right?
when I kind of walked away from one type of faith and decided that I was going to just dig down deep and figure out what seemed to work for me and what didn't. I was pulling a little from Wicca and a little from the pagans and a little from the Hindu and a little from the Buddhists, a couple from the Christians. Well, not so much them as much as Jesus, but
Hmm.
I just kind of incorporated it. It's like what people ask me now, well, what faith are you? And I just say, I believe in the force. That's what works. And we all have our gods and goddesses and those we worship. And I know my mother tickled me one time, just decades and decades ago. Somebody asked her something about didn't she believe in God? And she says, oh, yeah, I think she's wonderful. Shut them up instantly. And I was like, you go, Mom. I was a
Wow.
teenager at the time. So I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But, and, because she just popped right out with it. Oh, I think she's wonderful. And it took the other person a minute before it clicked what she said. And they were like,
You're like,
I don't
huh?
think they quite knew what to do.
Oh, they didn't know what to do. So
Yeah, it's just like when the Jehovah's Witnesses would come knock on the door. My late husband would say, yeah, come on in. We'll do a Bible study. Let me show you everything you don't know. And he'd go whip out his Bible and start spouting things off to him because he knew it forwards and backwards. And they would usually leave looking like whipped puppies. Just,
aw. Whenever I had people thumping the Bible at my door, I would say, "Oh, the moon is in Scorpio today, and Pluto is very close to it. I just don't think it's a good day for me to talk about the Bible." And then
yeah,
they would just walk away. They'd be like, "Uh-oh, she's weird. She's like really weird." Some people
that's
would
it.
say, "Oh, can I do your chart? Come on in. I've got all the." And they'd see the stuff in my house, and they'd be like, "No, no, we don't want
I
it."
never thought to try that tactic. I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, yeah, all right.
Except with my luck, I would get someone that actually knew the charts and would
Well,
say, "Well, that's not right."
well, not very many Jehovah's Witness, I think, believe in astrology. So they
No.
might, they might. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I just have not.
First
I
Jehovah's Witness I ever met was I was in junior high, what's called middle school nowadays,
right.
and I was dating a guy. I was like, I think eighth grade, and I started dating a guy who had just started high school. He was in ninth grade, and we had gone out on a couple of dates. Go to the movies, go to the roller rink, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And the next thing I know, I'm like getting these phone calls from his mother telling me that I was the sinner, that I was perverting her son and all this. And I'm like, who are you? What are you talking about? I had no clue what she was talking about. And then my mother found out about it, and that was the last time I heard from the woman.
Wow.
Mama went and had a talk with her, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
My mom didn't put up with a lot of nonsense from people. She was like, she had her own faith of what she believed, kind of like where I'm at now. And
Hmm.
she didn't want to hear it from anybody else. It's like, you believe in it, fine, knock yourself out. Don't talk to me about it. And so,
Well, let's get into some PoliTarology. Let's.
yeah, I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce that when I saw it. I was like,
Nobody is. Nobody knows how to.
I don't know if my tongue will. Looks like I'm looking at a student's name at school.
Well, my daughter told me to put a capital T in the middle of it. She said that will help people know how to
Yes,
pronounce.
darling, go away.
So it's
Um,
PoliTarology. So I just pulled a bunch of questions out of my and so we're just gonna read on those.
let's go.
And I'm gonna start with let's see. Now today, I think it was today or maybe it was yesterday, because I get my news off of YouTube, and so everything tends to be like almost a day old.
I get most of my political news from Amber on Black, from Autumn on Black and
Right,
Orange.
on Black and Orange, right? So there was a March for Life rally, which is an anti-abortion march in Washington,
Yes.
and they went all the way around the Capitol. And so I thought we should read on what will the fate be of Roe v. Wade? Will we ever get a law?
You know what we need to do is the next time they plan to do that, there should be a group of us that go out like the day before and circle the Capitol with salt so they can't get in.
Yeah, very good idea. Very good idea. Or we could just leave little crystals of black tourmaline all around the path where they might go, because then they will feel so uncomfortable the whole time they're walking. That might
that
too.
that might work.
But I like salt too. That's a good idea. All right. So will we ever get a law for replacing Roe v. Wade, really? Because Roe v. Wade wasn't a law, it was just a case. And we need an actual on the books law that says that we can do what we want with our bodies, especially
That's
when
right. I mean, I was born in 61. My mother marched for equal rights. I went on quite a few marches with her and stuffed pamphlets and all kinds of fun stuff. And um, yeah, the
yeah,
fact that they've taken that back away from us has just infuriated me on a level that just I'm like, ugh. And all I can think of is I'm glad she's no longer here to see it, because it would, dementia or not, it would have infuriated her.
it's really heartbreaking because there's people who are really suffering from this, really, really suffering, and it's just
Yeah,
not right. I mean, even in the states where they just don't have like clinics hardly anywhere,
yeah.
and then to add insult to injury by reversing it's just like, and why it's a
Well, and now you have states that are trying to make it illegal to get the medication to take the day after pill, or they're trying to make birth control illegal. It was like, well, until you tie all the penises up in a knot
mm-hmm.
so that they don't function, don't talk to me about birth control,
Yeah,
because that's how you get pregnant, is
yeah.
with those,
Really? Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Honest to God.
Those little bags of penises. So, my sister and I have done a few videos together, and one of the first ones that we did, she had a download from her guides about a bill, and it would take care of a lot of stuff, but it didn't go through, it didn't pass. But it put it planted the seed in some of these Congress people's minds that it is possible to deal with this in a very, very holistic and humanitarian way.
Yeah.
If you can, go back and watch this video. It's the first video I did with my sister. Her name's Cleo. It's when I talked to Cleo. So,
Okay.
because
I'm going to go back and watch that one.
her thing was wild because like 4 days later, it came up in Congress. I think it was like, I want to say Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz actually put the bill forth. And she had described it almost to a T. I was like, whoa, Cleo, look at you. So, anyway, all right, let's do this reading though. Roe v. Wade. Are we going to get it? Going to get it.
First card I pulled was Judgment.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of judgment coming out towards them for what they've done, because now there's an entire, 2 generations of women
At least.
who have enjoyed a right that has been now taken away from them.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what it was like before Roe v. Wade. I was a child, but you hear things as a child.
Yes.
You witness things as a child.
Yeah.
They're going to pay heavily for this decision that they've done. And the fact that they're trying to take away birth control on top of it, it's not going to be pretty. And then the next thing I pulled was the 5 of Swords, which again, it's just showing them, that conflict, that disagreement. I think it's going to be a fight for us to get our rights back.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that if Congress, this is what my guides have been telling me, if Congress puts it the right way, if they phrase the bill the right way, it'll be very difficult for a lot of the more moderate Republicans to vote against it.
Good.
Because it's going to bring out issues of life or death, punishment for the men who walk away unscathed with an unwanted pregnancy. And there are consequences that, if you're going to go to this extreme, then there are consequences to those actions that they need to be ready to pay. And a lot of them, I don't think, have bothered to think it through all the way to the conclusion and say, wait a minute, what if that was my wife or my daughter or my mother or my sister who gets raped and something happens? Or, if there's, God forbid, some kind of horrific uh, issue with the pregnancy where the fetus dies and the doctors are no longer allowed to remove that from the woman to keep her from dying. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just crazy.
Yeah.
You have to walk around for months with this dead thing inside of you, and that's poisoning your body because they don't get it. Yeah, it's. I myself have never had an abortion. I've never been in a position where I had to consider that, but I've had two friends in my life that, with very different reasons for why they got to that point, that was the only decision that they could make. And it was the most heart wrenching, gut wrenching decision they ever made in their life. Um, and one that made me think, I hope I never have to make that choice, because
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't know what you're going to decide to do until you go through it. And I know that with both of those two women, that was not what they wanted. They weren't looking to get rid of a baby. They were excited that they had a baby coming and then had it ripped away from them and had to take steps. And it was like, these people have no clue what they're dealing with, what they're talking
Yeah.
about.
They don't have any idea.
But it ends up, I pulled the Ace of Swords, which
Mm.
is clarity of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's 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 bringing that justice back,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to, I think, in the end, they're going to be able to put a bill together that's going to word it, phrase it, package it in such a way that a lot of people won't be able to argue against, because there are just as many pissed off Republican women as there are Democratic women or independent women over
Exactly.
that decision.
Exactly. I think this cuts across everything: socioeconomic differences, religious differences, everything. I think if you're connected to a woman, and who isn't, hello, you were born from a
You were
woman.
birthed, weren't you? Unless you just
If
were.
you're at all connected to a woman, then this issue affects you. Whether you acknowledge it or not, it affects you. So,
Exactly. And if you're married, anything could happen if your wife gets pregnant. You
yeah.
know, uh, if you have a teenage daughter,
Hmm.
teenagers, that's another part of this whole discussion with this, is the lack of responsibility people on the other side don't want to take for teaching our children proper biological facts
Yeah.
of how someone gets pregnant and what that entails. It's nice to cart an egg around for a month to learn how to take care of something and not crack it, but it's an egg. It's not growing inside of you. It's not
It's not a
um,
part of your body.
it's not a part of your body. It's not going to poison you if something goes wrong. You know,
Yeah.
um, or it's not a result of some horrendous violent action that was taken against you.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
um, and I think that's where the Violence Against Women Act needs to be tied in with this,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they go together. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and because a lot of women who do make that choice, a lot of times it's from either a violent action or it's from a medical mishap that is beyond their control.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know,
I've known a lot of women who have had to resort to a DNC, an abortion, to rectify a bad pregnancy,
yeah,
ectopic pregnancy, or one that abruptly aborted spontaneously but didn't completely leave her the body. I mean, there's a million things. But all right, so I got the first thing up that I got is the Princess of Pentacles, and I hope you can see this. The Princess of Pentacles. I'm thinking this is the Republican women. This is the women who you wouldn't think would talk about this, but they are the real victims because they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't.
yeah,
When they're connected that way with someone else in the Republican Party, maybe a husband, a brother, their whole family, who knows. And it's crossed by the Six of Swords. Now, in this deck that I'm using, the Six of Swords is really about balance and regularity in life. And that's what I think these women who are younger women, that's what I think they really are struggling with. That when you become pregnant, it does disrupt your life. Most of the time, you're not expecting to get pregnant.
yeah,
Most of the time. There are people who are able to plan it, but most of the time, it is changing your life dramatically. And
yeah,
that's part of what they're worried about is that change, that it does change. And especially for a young woman who
yeah,
is looking at the trajectory of her life and seeing everything except when am I going to have kids? To her, it's decades off. It's like, oh, when I'm 30, I'll have a kid. And at the bottom of the deck, at the base of the matter, they're fools. This is probably going to happen to you if you're a woman. Most women are probably going to have at least a baby or get pregnant at least once. Not everybody, but a lot of us, big majority of us, that's going to happen to us.
yeah,
So having this as a part of accepted law is really important. It just protects everybody. In the past, everybody's all about, oh, it's just so kind of non-romantic to end a pregnancy. Oh, you're giving up, you're ending a life. Well, yeah, but you're also, if you let the pregnancy go and it's not wanted, or there's a health issue, or it was the product of rape or something, maybe that pregnancy is not welcome. And
yeah,
so you can't romanticize it that all women just want babies just because they have a womb. Just because you have a womb doesn't mean you want to have that baby if it's, brought to you in a not, in a negative way. Now, coming up here, we're going to have some stories in the news that really pull at the heartstrings. We're going to have some examples of women who are suffering from, some really bad health issues. It could be, or it could be just someone who shares a story that maybe was in the past, but it's going to be coming into the news and into our worlds, into our living rooms, that this issue, because right now it is so difficult for women in this country to obtain a legal, safe abortion, it's going to spawn these stories to start coming to the surface.
yeah,
And as they come to the surface, the lawmakers, Emperor here, the lawmakers are going to become increasingly uncomfortable. And this gal, the young Princess of Pentacles, is going to be unrelenting.
yeah,
She's an earth sign. She's just like a Taurus, like standing still, going, "Oh, I'm sorry. Does my predicament make you feel uncomfortable? Well, it's going to change my whole effing life. So suck it."
thank you.
You
Yeah,
know, now I'm a parent, and where's the father? Or maybe the father is just not that good of a provider, or maybe she isn't really in a relationship with that person, or maybe she was raped. Who knows? So the lawmakers are going to become very uncomfortable with this. So the Republicans are going to go to big extremes to make it seem like all of us are ridiculous, which they're already doing,
yeah,
right? They're already trying to make us seem like we're the fools. We're the ones dancing naked under the moon over this, we all want abortions. It isn't that we all want abortions. I don't think anybody really wants an abortion.
no, I don't either.
But what they want is to come back to a life that they can understand and manage. And when your life is just upended, it's like all you want is for everything to go back to normal. So, um, what we're fearing is that it won't go back to normal another six. Sixes are normalcy, regularity in this deck. And so what we want is for everything to just be normal. But notice the symbology in this card. There's a moon over his head, and the balls are actually pentacles going over him, but it looks to me like the cycle of the moon.
Yep.
To me, this is really ruled by women, women's fears and women's strength. Women will be the ones who really push this issue. Whereas in the past, 50 years ago, when Roe v. Wade was decided, women didn't so much decide issues. They got out into the news. It was an anomaly to see a woman whose opinion was actually listened to.
Right.
Most of the time it was denigrated. Most of the time it was opposed. And most of the time it was put down and silenced. And not so much 50 years later. 50 years later, we have a lot of very strong
My
women.
mom was a single parent who raised 2 kids by herself.
Well, that's strong.
Yeah, I watched her go through a lot of crap in her life just to provide a decent home and a roof over our heads and food in our mouth for me and my brother.
Yeah.
And she always said that her greatest accomplishment was that we both got an education and got a degree. And
that is an accomplishment.
she never even finished high school, But she was one of the hardest workers I ever knew. And just, and she didn't know a stranger. I mean, that was just her personality.
Wow.
She welcomed everyone into her life, but I remember her marching for equal rights and for women's rights. And, I remember when she tried to buy her first house. I think I was 10 or 11. So that would have been
72,
71, 72, right in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And she had to get her stepfather to come and co-sign the loan for her because they wouldn't let her buy a house.
Yeah.
Even though she was making a decent living,
Yeah.
But they wouldn't let her do it on her own.
My parents, I moved out of my parents' house when I was first out of high school because I was going to go to community college. And so I wanted to move closer to the community college so I didn't have to drive all the time. I drove the first year I commuted, and my mom said, "Well, you can't rent a house or an apartment." And I said, "Why not?" And she said, "Well, for one thing, you don't have a checking account. How are you going to pay the rent every month?" And I said, "Oh, I can get a checking account." And she looked at me like I had 3 heads. Now, that would have been 1975. By 1975, a woman could get a checking account without her parents.
Yeah.
And the credit card that I first got was for a clothing store, a local clothing store it was a little chain just in my state, but I got that first credit card, and then I got a gas card, and then I was off and running on the whole credit card thing. But it was very hard. It was very hard to establish yourself.
Yeah.
To have credit. But fast forward probably 30 years later, my first divorce, I was trying to put my car that I had kept in the divorce in my name. And I lived in New York State. No, they wouldn't let me do that. I had to have my husband's permission to do that.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, here's a deal. I'm going to sell that stinking car, and then I'll just buy one in my own name. How's that?" That's what I had to do. Same with the insurance. Couldn't switch it to my name. So I said,
"Yeah,
you're no longer my insurance company. I'll just go to somebody who puts it in my name." You're crazy.
I watched my mom fight those kind of battles most of her life. I mean, which prepared me for my own. I mean, I got married at 22, had my son right after I turned 23 or just before I turned 23. I don't know, something like that. And I know all of my life, it was like she went to an extreme to prepare me to be completely independent.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, when my husband and I first got together, she wasn't real thrilled about it because I married my mother in a lot of respects. They were too much alike.
Mm.
Um, and but over time, they developed a really strong relationship. And I knew, I guess we'd been married about 10 years when just out of the blue one day, my husband said to me, you know, if something ever happened to you, you don't have to worry about your mom because I'll take care of her.
Oh,
And I was like, well, oh, thank you. You know, it just, I don't
yeah.
know what prompted that out of him, but it was just something he felt like he needed to say to me at the time. And, and she was a proof to me that their relationship had changed,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
tremendously. From two people that were constantly butting heads.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the fact that, you know, growing up in the Deep South, in the middle of the civil rights movement,
Mm-hmm.
watching the atrocities of that,
Mm-hmm.
seeing my mom literally shun half the family because they were members of the White Sheet Clan, and she wouldn't allow us to have anything to do with them. And thank God. And uh, you know, she decided she was going to do it on her own. You know,
Wow.
she had decided after she had got divorced from my brother's dad, my stepfather. She was like, I don't need to go down that road. I can take care of my own damn kids and take care of myself. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
She fought a lot of battles doing it, but by golly, she did it.
Well, at that time in the United States, it was just under 50% of households in the United States were headed by single women.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a lot of, single dads. There were
No.
probably a few, but not a lot. And I think that ratio has gone up. I think there's more single women heading households than married couples of any kind of
Yeah.
description. But it's
But
always
there are also more single dads that are stepping up
oh yeah, a lot more.
and doing what's right by their children, you
Yep,
know.
yeah, that's true.
Um, yeah, my brother's one, you know, so and he's done a damn good job at it. You know, I'm really proud of him.
Well, that's
Um, and it's not easy, you know.
yeah.
Um, I
All
mean,
right,
we
let me
all live together.
cards. Let me
My
finish.
brother lives with me. My son lives with me. We
Yep.
all live together. So,
Oh, that's cool.
and
All right. So let me get back to these cards here. So
yeah,
the fears of what's going on for all of us, and I think this card is really interesting, comes out as fears, is the Four of Pentacles. That's usually the guy hanging on to all the coins. But in this deck, the guy almost looks like a doctor sitting there in a white coat.
ah,
So this is what we're afraid of, that we're not going to have good health care. That
yeah,
that's the fear. Fears are thoughts. Thoughts can be changed. I always say that. And the hopes that we have is that we will have the strength to defend this. This is the Nine of Wands. That we will
yeah,
defend it successfully and that Congress will come through and they will come out with a good law. And the final outcome is beautiful. Final outcome is the star. We will get it. It
yeah,
will take a lot, like you said, a lot of defense. We are going to have to defend it to the teeth, but we will succeed in that. And I think that's very large in part due to the women who talk about it, the women who tell their stories, the women who won't back down, the women probably who are attorneys who are going to stand up for the the rights of people who don't know the law as well as they do. But I think it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna be an interesting battle.
and you know, and there's a lot of women legislators now, whether if it's in federal or state houses,
Yep.
that are now stepping forward and stepping up and talking about either their own personal experience or
Hmm.
someone that they were, you know, close to or a family member, you know, and why they even went into government work to begin with was because of what they saw, you know, or the difficulties
And
that were
men
there.
men are less hesitant than they were to speak on behalf of the women in their
Yeah.
family and to just plain say, this isn't fair for women.
Yeah.
Men didn't used to speak that way. I mean,
Oh
even 10
no.
years ago, even 10 years ago, it was very rare to find a man. I mean, he would be a guy probably who smoked a lot of pot and, just like didn't, but to see like white collar businessmen having those phrases come out of their mouth, it's like, wow, you,
Yeah, it's like when did this happen?
you got enlightened. But
So a lot of those 60 hippies moms words finally, I tease my son because he listens to a lot of old rock and roll like what I listen to. And
yeah,
then whenever he puts something on, of course he's a musician, so he plays music too and
yeah.
writes music. But whenever he listens to some of the older stuff, I always pipe up and say, "Yeah, you can tell you were raised right. Listen, look what you're listening to." And he's
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, my mom and dad taught me really well about music."
Oh, that's great.
And
All right, I'm gonna switch decks here. And all right, so our next question is uh, Biden's classified documents versus Trump's classified documents. So I'm gonna do two little sets of cards here. So I have a set for Trump and a set for Biden.
okay, well, I know I got a hit on this just the other night with when I was on with Linda and Mel, and it was just as strong as it could be that while the original document with Biden may have been something that got overlooked, and look what happened, but all of the ones since then have had a very strong feeling of they were placed there.
Yeah, I saw that show when you said that, and my little spidey sense was picking up too. I think it was Ellie from Ellie Dreams Down Under, and she had a hit that said all those folders where there's empty folders in Trump's possession. Where are all those documents? Well, maybe they're the ones that they planted on Biden.
There you go.
So, and as I was thinking that, I was thinking, well, somebody has to look at the dates because Biden's would only be from the Obama era. Trump's
Yeah,
is much newer. So, if any of those documents for Biden are more recent, then yeah, they had to come from those empty folders from, well, they didn't have to, but they more likely would come from the folders that Trump had.
yeah.
And when she said that, I was just like, "Oh my God, people are connecting the dots. This is crazy." My first instinct when I heard about this was, "This is a little too convenient. This is a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
There's something very fishy about this." All right, let's see here. If you got your cards out, you can go ahead and start yakking.
I'm still kind of pulling here because I'm gonna do two sets like you did,
Okay.
and because I want to make sure. Oh, okay.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start with Trump
Okay.
because the first card literally jumped out of the deck, and it was the King of Pentacles reversed. And
Ooh.
I technically don't pull reversed cards.
Yeah, me neither.
So it's like, okay, if it literally jumped out and hit the tabletop, reversed, upright, up, reverse, I was like, okay, that means that that's how they want this read. And with the King of Pentacles reversed, because I don't read reversals, I have to look at it. Um, I mean, you're looking at greed, indulgence, stubborn, obsessed with wealth and status. Gee, does that sound familiar to y'all?
Yeah.
Like that. And then from there, I pull the Nine of Pentacles, which is, I think that he thinks because these are his cards, that if he plants enough and does enough, that this is his outcome. That he's going to have the wealth and the riches and the position and everything that he's thinking he deserves. But then I've got the Two of Wands, which to me is saying, I mean, you look at what all's in the background, what all he's looking at. He's staring at, what is that, a globe? I can't see.
Yeah.
Is I think that he's got a rude awakening coming with what's coming in. I think he's standing there anticipating all these wonderful things are going to come to him. And they're not. Because I keep coming back to the reversal, which really spoke loudly to me because I don't draw reversals.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, this is telling me that it's not going to be pretty for him. And then for Biden, I started out with the Ace of Swords. So we're looking at somebody that has justice being handed to them, or at least that's the way I read it.
Yeah.
Followed by the Two of Swords, which is decisions are going to have to be made. Personally, because of the hits that I got the other night, I think this decision making is going to be on the Secret Service.
Yeah.
Because just my spidey sense started tingling when Linda said, well, you know, it's the Secret Service.
It is.
And I was like, oh, wow. I mean, it was like all the light bulbs went off. And then it ends with the Page of Swords. Yeah, Page of Swords. I was like, wait, let me look at that again. Which, I mean, to me, it looks more like somebody that's holding their sword up in celebration. We won.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is over. It's done. We've won this. And that's the feeling I get off of this for Biden. I think he's going to have to go through some stuff to kind of clear this up.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had this feeling for a while now, and we talked about it the other night. I really had this strong sense that they're going to have to literally clear out all of the Secret Service and start over fresh. It's time to get rid of all of them because you don't know who you can trust and who they've been so. I mean, this was going on when Obama was president. When stuff started coming out about these drunken parties they were having when they were in other countries and doing things that if a person of that country did it would land them in jail or worse.
And aren't they getting old?
Thank you.
It's been a while. Aren't they getting too old for that gig?
You would think. You would think, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Oh, so is that it? You got them?
That's it. That's what I got. Yeah.
All right. So I had to decide whether I was going to do Biden or Trump first. I think I'll end with Trump. Now, I am using the card that's called the Tarot of Strange Creatures, which I think is just perfect for this. And so the first thing is that here's Biden. Biden comes up as the King of Pentacles. So he kind of feels like he is in the catbird seat. Like he still can't quite believe that this is happening to him. Yeah. And that's a failing, actually, because he doesn't want to underestimate Trump, but I think he is a little bit in this. And because he thinks like, what? I'm Uncle Joe. Nobody's going to like throw me in jail or anything. He is the president. They're not going to charge him with anything because he's sitting as president. But I do think that he feels like he's kind of like, okay, he's kind of protected, which may or may not be great. Then he gets the Strength card. And that's what I think he's showing now. I'm sorry. Yeah. I can get this is a lamb.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, it's a lamb dressed up. And I think he is exhibiting strength. I think, and the King of Pentacles was a moose. You'll probably see that it was a moose. But I think he is exhibiting strength. He's being very, very uh, diplomatic, very reserved, very cautious in what he says, which is good. I'm glad that he's doing that because he's got the Five of Wands here. I mean, it's not just Trump; it's the powers that be. It's the Republican Party, basically, and what's left of it, just trying their best to throw some mud and hope that it sticks.
Yep.
That, that's what this is all about. It's just like, can we please just get this man dirty because he's just too damn clean. Everybody likes him too much, and we can't stand it.
The
Plus,
whole country feels safe with him in office.
yeah, they do. And most of the Republicans that are visible, in the public eye right now have gone through some horrible things since the midterms, and it isn't stopping. Like it's all that's November. What we're going on 3 months, almost through the third month, almost into a fourth month past the elections. That kind of stuff is usually done and dusted, forgotten by the time you get into January. But
Right.
for these guys, it just keeps churning and churning and churning, and they hate it, so they want to throw some mud on Biden. But Biden's got the sun. He's got the sun coming out for him because he is going to prevail in this, although it's not going to be fun. He did get the Five of Wands, but nothing's going to stick to him. He's going to be fine.
No.
The final outcome is the Six of Cups. People are going to go back to feeling real comfortable with Uncle Joe. They're just very happy with this.
Well, and a minute ago I said everybody here feels safe because he's in the office. It's not just Americans that feel safe. It's people around the world.
Around the world.
Feel safe.
I agree. Totally. So Trump's cards, I think I'm going to go backwards here. So here's Trump. This is a walrus. He's the emperor.
That fits.
And he really feels like he called the shot. He made the right shot. And he's just a maestro for coming up with this idea. Or whoever came up with this idea, he stole it and he's claiming it. But what's happening for Trump is this is just going to put him more in limbo. This is the Hanged Man. It's what is that? It's a bat. The character is a bat hanging upside down. So appropriate. So Trump is going to kind of, every step that he takes right now, because his court cases just keep snowballing with everything that he does is just shooting himself in the foot over and over and over again. He's just not taking a step right. Yeah. And so he comes out here, the King of Swords. He really thinks that he's going to fool all these prosecutors and all these judges and all these attorneys, and he's just not. They are on to him. The King of Swords is holding up the sword of justice. This guy has like an eagle or a hawk head. They're very keen. They see everything. They have great eyesight and they have good judgment. And, Trump is just no match for them. And then I also got the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is coming for him, and it's the sword of truth. It's the words that are going to be balanced against him. It's justice. It's the weight of the society saying, we don't accept what you're saying in this case or in any case. And the final outcome is going to be judgment. He is not going to like the judgment that comes down on his head. And this will be one of many judgments because of all these court cases coming together at this time. So cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for Trump. But yeah, I think, very, very different outcome.
Well, and he so gives himself away because everything he accuses everyone else of is what he's just done.
It's such a classic lie.
And what was it when the documents first showed up, or it first came out that he had these documents and the archives couldn't get it back because he refused to give it to them. And then he immediately started with, the Secret Service just planted those on me.
Yeah.
And then when they started coming out with Biden, it was like, the first time I was like, okay, well, I could see something getting missed in a box, in a room full of boxes. And So they're going through things and cleaning out for, I'm sure, to prepare for the presidential library when
Yeah.
Biden gets out of office. You know, they're gonna first thing they're gonna do is go through all his documents
But
to see what's put in the library.
didn't his son die right before the end of his term as vice president? Isn't that when his son died?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was going on too. So that
exactly.
also made more burden fell to the people around him, not him. So all you got to do is just go back and you can find out what's the date that Bo Biden
Joe
died,
Biden, yeah.
and you could probably connect the dots. Oh, gee, was he really handling everything the way he wanted to? Probably not.
No, no, probably not at all.
Yeah.
And I
So
think and I think a lot of people, especially President Biden, had their hopes set in Bo Biden becoming president
oh, yeah,
because there was a lot of that kind of before they discovered that he had brain cancer.
yeah.
There was a lot of that, a lot of talk about he's positioning himself well into rising up the ranks of
Oh,
to the presidency. And
yeah.
I know Biden himself had said at one point when Trump ran the first time, and people were wanting to know why Biden wasn't running, and one, and I don't know if he meant to say it, if it just kind of popped out of his mouth or what, but he said no. He said I'm not running. Bo was supposed to run.
Oh, yeah. I remember. I heard that. I remember
Yeah,
that.
it was some interview he did, and it just struck me. And I was like, okay, that's why he's not running, because he can't deal with it at this point in time.
No.
And I think that by the time it got to the end of Trump's chaotic spell over this country, he was like, I think it had more to do with his grandchildren telling him, Poppy, you're the only one that can clean this up.
Yeah.
People need you, you know. And that's why he decided to run, to throw his hat in the ring and decided to run for president. Was because his grandkids were the ones that just kept telling him, you're the one you got to go clean up this mess. Look what he's done.
Well, thank God they did.
And yeah, and that he listened,
All right. So the next thing that I have here is Jenny Thomas. Will she ever be questioned? Will she ever be brought to task for the crap that she's done? Is she just a poor, deluded cult member that just can't find her own center, her own story, her own? Must she always be a part of a
Can I
cult?
share a personal opinion here?
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody that had anything to do with the domestic terrorist attack that they performed on our Capitol,
yes,
that was involved in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion, if they've been arrested, charged, and convicted, they should automatically lose their citizenship.
wow,
They should be stripped of their citizenship because they've proven themselves to be traitors. That's
wow.
in my mind. But that's only if they get convicted, and I don't think they're going to go after those on the outer fringes or the people that just got all ginned up because Tucker Carlson told them to, who showed up to go storm the Capitol because it was like something fun to talk about or do. I mean, if you saw some of these people as they were leaving the Capitol that day, as people were interviewing them, well, what provoked you to do it? Well, we were just here to just prove our point that we could go. It was our Capitol, and we could. It was like, And I can remember watching the news at that time and thinking to myself, do you have any clue what you've done? And I honestly don't think a lot of them did.
No, it was like a frat party gone bad. It was just,
Yes.
it was like I
Like a
shouldn't have
drunken
done
frat party gone
it.
bad.
I didn't know if I put the rum in the Coke that I would act so crazy, but it's like, oh boy, grow up, grow up.
Or the videos that came out like the next day of people trying to get on a plane to go back home to get to the airport and discover that they're now
No
on the
fly.
list. They can't fly because now they're considered domestic terrorists
Yeah,
because of their phone. The idiots didn't realize that when they taking pictures and calling Mary and Joe back home, look where I'm at, that the cell towers are catching their numbers and they know exactly where you were, whether if you were in the building or out. You can't lie about that. But the only
and
ones that could
they
get
are.
away with it is if they didn't have a phone on them.
I mean, I think those people are. That's very sad that they got sucked into that.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes me mad is the politicians, the people
Yes.
who knew very well what it was, and they're not getting, they don't have
You
any.
had the then Vice President of the United States refusing to get into his armored vehicle for protection from supposedly they didn't know what. And he was more afraid of getting in that car with those Secret Service agents than he was of facing down all those nuts
Yeah,
at the, you know,
yeah, that was very telling.
yeah. But to hear him talk about it, that's not why he wouldn't get in the car. It's just,
Oh yeah, he's staying to do his duty. Yeah, right.
yeah,
He didn't want to be disappeared. He-
permanently.
yeah, yeah.
And I have a feeling that if Trump would have said, just get rid of him,
They
there
would
were
have.
people on the Secret Service that would have taken that quite literally and would have gotten rid of him.
Oh, Secret Service would have had to fight off the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys to do it because I think they
Yeah.
were all ready to do it too. Okay, Jenny. Let's see. What do you have going on here?
Oh. Mm. Oh, Jenny, Jenny, Jenny.
Oh, poor Jenny. Oh man, I'd love to see her chart. I gotta look it up. She's got
Wouldn't
it.
that be something? I don't
She's
know very much about charts, but I know they tell a lot.
they do. She's just got to be like a basket of hammers because it's just sad. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go. All
Yeah,
right.
go ahead.
So the first card that I get is the Empress, and this is the zombie deck. So this is a zombie Empress, and she is. This
How
is
appropriate.
this is Jenny thinks of herself as. Do they have kids? Do her and Clarence have kids? I don't think they
I
do.
don't think they have children.
I've never heard anybody talk about any child. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So I think she thinks of herself as this benevolent person who really helps everybody that needs help. And she is still completely woo-woo into some cult mentality, man. She is not, she does not have 2 feet on this planet. She's in another world. Entertainment purposes only, YouTube. Um, and she is telling herself a really interesting story. She's telling her a story herself a story that is her truth, or as Kelly Conway would say, alternative
Alternative
facts.
facts.
And that I got that from the Ace of Swords. It's
Yeah,
her truth. It's what she's been telling herself for the last few years, probably 6 years, and
at
it
least.
it just it's wackadoodle. It's just wackadoodle. But that's what she sees herself truly as a great person, as a really good-hearted person. And the card at the base here is the Chariot. So things have been going off the rails for a while. I know you can't see that very, very well, but things have been going off the rails for a while with Ginny, and probably with Clarence too. But they just keep, they're kind of like Stepford people. They just keep like looking out at the cameras and saying, "Yes, everything is fine. Isn't it fine in your neighborhood? It's fine. This is my best friend. We're fine. Aren't you fine? We're fine." They're like on the
Yeah,
just a loop of, we're okay because we say we're okay. We're nice people because we say we're nice people. It's just cuckoo. Um, in the past, we have the Knight of Cups, who is telling a very twisted tale. I mean, he's able to go, I think this is Clarence. He's able to go wherever he wants to go, do whatever he wants to do, again, because he kind of wills it to be that way. It's a part of his script. He's SCOTUS. He's above reproach. He's above anybody's judgment. He's the highest judgment in the land.
yeah.
And so he's begun to think that, his doesn't stink, that he's fine, that everything that he says is like pearls of wisdom, right? Now, what's coming up for them? They're going to be challenged. Something is going to challenge them, either an actual lawsuit or just so much public derision that they both, this is the strength card, they both find that it's very difficult for them to maintain their front, to maintain this false front.
Yeah.
And then what comes out for them is the Star. Now, I don't know if this is just a fantasy, a hallucination. I mean, it could be, because I don't see them coming out actually being stars and being, But another way that when I first threw these cards out, another thing that hit me was, if Ginny does get questioned in any way or even charged in some way, she will see herself as kind of Joan of Arc, of like taking one for the country. Like she believes that she's so good that if she gets criticized, she's just like, I will suffer the slings and arrows for my United States. Like she's just such a friggin' martyr. She's lost in the past. She's very lost in delusion. She's not really here in the present. Um, he feeds it. They are really codependent with their fantasy world. Very codependent. It's a very weird relationship. It's not a normal relationship. It's not a good relationship. Um, and he really rules the roost. If he told her to get down on all fours and bark like a dog for 45 minutes before dinner, she would
She'd
do it.
do it. Yeah.
He would do it. And he might do stuff like that because he's really, this is my castle, this is my house, I'm the man, blah, blah, blah. It was really weird. And we got, for their hopes, we got the Fool. I mean, they're just, the things that they're looking at is just crazy. I believe the technical term is cattywampus. I mean,
Yeah.
just cuckooville, the stuff that they're looking at. And so the final outcome is temperance, and it's reversed. So they're not going to be able to be very temperate. They're not going to be able to see reality very well. So I don't know what they would ever, has it ever happened before that a Supreme Court justice has to be like taken off the bench or arrested or be charged with something? I mean, I don't know. But
I don't know.
I
I
do
really
think
don't know.
if they start looking at what Clarence Thomas has done, has he broken some ethics things with the SCOTUS? Yeah, he really has. But has he broken the law? Possibly. He could actually have been engaged in some kind of illegal act.
Yeah.
And she definitely has. But I think with her, I think her psychological well being will kick in and she will just fall to pieces. So she'll just have to be
Well,
institutionalized.
and the fact that she grew up, she comes from a wealthy family,
Mhm.
a family with money. So she's someone that was always protected. No matter what she did, she
Mhm.
always had, daddy's money to take care of the mistake, brush it away. Um, I think that and this is just kind of a personal opinion here, but I've always thought that she thought of herself as being so woke because she married a black man, you
Yeah,
know.
that's
And
part of
so
romanticism.
that
He's
that tells the world that I'm not this racist person. I married a black man, Well, so doesn't mean that you're still not a racist or a bigot.
She married a sociopath black man. She married
Yes.
a man that does not face up to his um, actions.
And someone who saw a way to, I think that part of the reason why he married her was the buffer of her skin color and daddy's money,
Yeah.
which is going to open a lot of doors, pave a lot of bumpy roads, and allow him to just kind of skate right through
Hmm.
and get in where, under normal circumstances, they would have shut the door in his face.
And I mean, he probably is really, really intelligent,
Oh, I'm
but
sure he is. I
but
mean,
he didn't have to go that route. I mean, he might not have ended up on the Supreme Court had he not gone that route, but he could have been just a really, really successful lawyer and been very successful in life. He didn't have to do all this other stuff,
yeah.
but I think she really fed. I mean, she really
They
seemed.
remind me of two people who feed into
Yeah, they do.
uh, I want to say ideology, but that's not really, more like their demented ideology.
Well, they're kind of like a cult unto themselves.
Yeah.
And then the greater cult is whatever's going on politically that they can glom onto that benefits them. And
Yeah.
it takes on a religious fervor for them because she's really susceptible to the whole cult thing. She was in one when she was young.
Yeah.
And and without really good mental support, you don't just drop that behavior.
Yeah.
You're kind of damaged by the experience, but you were damaged before you even got in.
Yeah.
So so she's a very damaged person, and I think if charges actually do get drawn
And
against her, she'll fall apart.
I can't. I've been sitting here trying to remember what the word is for the kind of mental issues that I think she has, but she's one of those people. It's either or. It's black or white. There's no middle of the
Yeah,
road. There's
yeah,
no there's no meeting in the middle. There's no
right.
compromising to get everybody to go along. No, it's black or white, yes or no, left
Yep,
or right.
yep.
There's no in between. Um,
She's
and
good
so
with
she's
herself.
either all the way up or she's all the way down.
Yep.
And yeah, I've known a few people like that in my life. It's like they're scary to be around.
And that's why they need that script. That's why they follow that script so
Yeah.
that they don't bring each other down. Because I'd imagine that he'd be pretty awful if he was on his downside. I can imagine that he'd be a pretty terrifying person.
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
just
we don't know. He might beat her every night for all we know.
exactly that. Well, yeah, I wasn't going to actually say that, but I'm glad you did because he might be really, really actually
Hypothetical YouTube. This is just two
hey,
crones
two old
talking.
ladies with a bunch of tarot cards. Come on.
That's it.
Get real. I mean, we talk to rocks for God's sake. Don't.
Yeah,
Don't hate. Don't hate.
exactly. Spirits in the air that whisper in our ears, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
what's that?
well, what I pulled, and I just keep looking at it because it's kind of a mess. But we started out with the Ten of Wands. So she feels this burden that she's trying to carry the Republican Party to its salvation, that she and her husband are going to be the ones that save the Republican Party from what's going on. And that's when you hear her talk, that's how she sounds, you know.
Yeah.
And then I pull the Two of Cups because that is her and Clarence.
Yeah.
I don't know if their version of love would be what most people would consider love. But for them, it's what they're capable of feeling, or at least of going through the motions of feeling. Because a psychopath, if intelligent, or a sociopath, either one, can get real good at exhibiting the right emotions at the right time to make everyone around them think that they're normal. Except that if you get that little vibe that they're off, you can kind of pick up on it when they're doing this, because suddenly the answers are too perfect. The responses are too textbook. You know, like you said, we're fine. Everybody's fine. Why wouldn't we be fine? We're madly in love with each other. You know, I mean, that kind of thing.
Did you see her when she had been questioned by the Jan 6 committee and the reporters were following her down the hallway with the microphones? You know, what do you think? What are they talking about? What did you tell them? They're asking her all these questions. And to her, it was like she was on the red carpet going to the Oscars.
Yes.
Just, she was just like,
Preening and posing and
yes. I mean, I think she may have even stopped for them to take photographs. I mean, she just loved the attention. She loved being the star. So I'm
yes.
sorry, interrupt. Go ahead.
That's okay. I interrupt a lot myself. So then I pull the Six of Swords. We're looking at a big transition for her and for him.
Mhm.
And something I've been feeling for the longest time is he's going to be asked to step down. I think it's going to come down to if there is proof to be had of what he's had his fingers in. God, that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Where his fingers have been, I sure wouldn't want him touching me.
Yeah.
But
Visual, Shari. Bad. Move on from that.
sorry, I can be a little crude sometimes. I blame my mother. She was very upright, forthright about stuff. She just said it. Um, but I think they see themselves. I mean, basically, this card is people making a new start. They're getting on their boat. They're sailing away. But I'm thinking of them, and I'm looking at this and thinking, they're thinking we're going to pack up and we're just going to slip out into the night, go on about our ways, and go to Gay Paris or Russia or Iran or wherever it is they want to go,
Mm-hmm.
and that no one will notice.
Mm-hmm.
And that when they're gone, everyone will be, oh, but we want them back. How can we survive without them?
Yeah.
This is their thinking. And then I see they think this is their reward.
Yeah. They really do.
Ace of Pentacles.
La La Land, man.
This is their reward. This is how they see things ending for them. This is reality of what's coming for them. I nearly fell out of my chair when that was the last card I pulled. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, wait a minute. Side by side at that, it was like, this is their delusion and this is their reality. And it's not going to be pretty.
No.
And they're not going to be happy with it. But there are days when I seriously question if they're going to actually ever get punished or, get whatever for what they've done.
Well, I think that, I mean, just from kind of the feeling that I get from all of this is that when they're making changes to SCOTUS, and even before they're making the actual changes to the heads on SCOTUS, like John Roberts might step down. He seems to be terribly uncomfortable in his position. The guy who did the Roe v. Wade thing and leaked it, he's got to go. I mean, he's
Mhm.
a ridiculous
Except
player.
for white justice, but
Yeah. Clarence Thomas has got to go. Amy Coney Barrett is just got
that's the Stepford
to
white.
go. Kavanaugh, he's just a useless rag. He's got to go. So, I mean,
He's the frat boy that never grew up, and all he cares about is drinking his beer and going to gamble.
yeah. So, I mean, a lot of these people just have to be removed. But I think the prelude to that, I think, I'd love it to be Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, and that other guy, I guess, seems to actually be a judge.
Alito,
No, Alito, I want to go. It's the other guy that got put on there.
Gorsuch.
Gorsuch. He
Gorsuch.
actually seems to be a judge. I don't love him, but he seems to be a judge. But I think that Thomas, I think, may be the prelude to everything else being changed
Yeah.
on SCOTUS. And I think, maybe Biden will add more seats to it and he'll be able to nominate some more people to it. But I think Clarence Thomas, along with Ginny, I think something's going to like kind of, I don't see an explosion. I see it like a puff of smoke, like a magician's puff of smoke.
Yeah.
I see something happening where all of a sudden people go, "Oh, we see now what he did." Something comes out in the news that is not a new event. It's just an illumination.
It finally comes out. Yeah.
It finally comes out, and I think that leads to him and questioning of her, and the two of them just basically, she'll be taken off to the nut hut and he'll be taken off the bench, and they'll say, you can go sit with Trump in Mar-a-Lago until we lock him up. So
Yeah.
that's how I kind of see it going. And then I think it's just a domino effect that more and more and more of the stuff has to be
as
Thomas is the first.
As they have more and more evidence comes out, like who paid off all of Kavanaugh's debts? The man owed millions of dollars to gamblers, and all of a sudden he's debt free. Hey, can I sign up for that?
Well,
Somebody want to come pay my little measly bills and let me be debt free?
There's so many people in Congress, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. And we just keep, like, what about that case against Matt Gaetz down in Florida and the underage government?
And yet he's still in office, gets reelected.
Yeah, it's Cuckoo Town. What about, I don't know. I could go off for hours.
I mean, I lived in Florida for several years when I was a child, when it was actually very blue. And it was a wonderful state to live in, a lot of things could be accomplished there. Thank you, darling. And pull my clothes out the dryer. My bed sheets is unmade bed behind me now. But I feel like since there are 13 circuit courts, there should be 13 justices.
Well, that's a good idea.
There should be one justice for every court. We have 13 circuit courts in this country. There should be a justice for each one, instead of a handful of justices having several.
Yeah, like, isn't it strange that Thomas is the one who decided and looked and reviewed the stuff on Trump's stuff in Florida? And why? What's that? I mean, that seemed wackadoodle to me. But like you said, if there's 13 circuits, which I should know, I work for lawyers, but I forget. Yeah, that makes sense. We should have 13 justices. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that if it was put out into the public that way, there should be a justice for every circuit court. We
Yeah.
have 13 circuit courts, so there should be 13 justices.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of people who are, oh well, we can't have 13. That's just, it's never been done like that before. Well, the act of not upsetting precedent went down the toilet when y'all reneged on Roe v. Wade.
Yeah. But also,
So,
you know,
I don't want to hear it.
it's been bigger in the past. They have changed the numbers a few times.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when the country was started, they didn't even have a Supreme Court.
No.
You know,
it started, I think, with 7 or 11, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
and then it went down, and then it went up, and then it went down, and then it finally settled on like 9.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's ever been as high as 13, but I do know it has been as high as 11. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's no, these things are fluid. They change because the country changes, because people change, because we grow, because times change. It has to be fluid. So,
and I know I was listening to, I don't know, some news program one day, a couple of years back, and they were talking about this, and I'm pretty sure it was probably the Tom Hartman show. And he was talking about this, and he's saying something about 13 circuit courts. And the light bulb went off in my head, and I went, well, if there's a justice supposed to be presiding over the circuit court, and there's 13 courts, why isn't there 13 justices?
Yeah.
One for each court. That would make sense to me, See,
this is why girls should run the show, because girls can count. Boys can't count. I'm sorry, boys. There might be a lot of wonderful boys out there who are mathematicians, but I've worked in IT with men all my professional life. And before that, I was a professional musician and entertainer. Also, a lot of men. Boys can't count. They just never do. They always get it wrong. They always come up short. If they plan a project to take place and cost X number of dollars and to get done on this particular date, they always go over the date, and they always spend more money than they should because they can't count. So
I saw an article earlier that said for the first time ever, America has 4 women in leadership roles when it comes to our monies as a country.
Yeah.
It's the first time we have all women controlling it. It's like, you want to see the purse strings get straightened out and untangled? Let a group of women get in there and get, we've been balancing budgets on pennies and peanuts for ever.
I grew up thinking that hot dogs cooked inside rice-a-roni as a casserole was a delicacy.
Yeah.
That's the way I grew up.
I can remember many a night when all we had to eat was either a pot of beans or scrambled eggs. Because that's the only thing Mama could afford.
Yeah.
And so I'll eat eggs still to this day. I won't touch a bean or a pea. It's like, nope.
Oh,
not happening. I had to eat them when I was a kid, and I hated them. I had to shell them, and I had to snap them, and I had to do all kinds of stuff. We'd go get them from the farmer's market. It's like, nope. Not going to happen with me.
Done with that. Well, listen, shall we pull a card for the people who sat with us through this? Shall we pull a card and give them
absolutely
good news to finish with?
Let's give them something to be uplifted with. I'm going to pull one of my oracles. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, I should do an oracle. Okay, let me do that. Do these cards. Okay, here we go.
I've been eyeballing a couple of decks that I like. It's like, okay, you gotta save up my money.
Save up your green stamps, Shari.
I remember those. I can remember helping my grandmother put them little stickers in the books.
Yeah, my grandma would save and save and save, and then she'd spend it all on my mom, because my mom had 4 kids. So she'd send us boxes of stuff, and we'd look at it and we'd go, Why are we getting this? It's not Christmas.
Right after I got married, there was a local grocery store that still did the green stamps.
Uh-huh.
And we used to go grocery shop there, and I would collect up. The first thing I ever bought with books of green stamps, I bought myself an electric stand mixer. The
Oh,
kind where the bowl goes around, and
yeah, nice.
I'd always wanted one of those.
They're expensive.
And then years later, I won one off of some contest, one of the really nice, expensive ones.
Nice.
It's got more dust in it
Oh,
than use.
okay, you're pushing all my cards all over the place.
Yeah, I keep waiting for my little one to. She's already tackled my
You're lying.
pile behind me.
All right, let's do cards for people here.
Let's see what I got. I got cards flying. All right.
You're going to push them all off the table, aren't you? You just can't wait.
Of course.
All right.
Well,
So,
instead of one card, I had two that jumped out, flew across the floor.
well, read two then.
Started with the Seeker.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then I ended with Hope.
Yeah. Nice.
So as we seek our truth, we have hope to guide us
Nice.
and hope to clothe us.
Very nice.
And it will get better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I agree with Autumn very much when she says that every day. It's going to get better.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is.
And I pulled from, I'm using Scott's deck, the Extraterrestrial Universal Oracle. And this
I
one
love
is
that deck.
cellular and DNA memory. Activate your nucleus to perfection.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, Miss Shari.
Thank you, Miss Colleen. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna probably email you sooner than you want me to and ask you to do this again because I
Anytime, and you're welcome to come on my show. I'm
that.
pretty much restricted to weekends because I work during the week.
Me too. Same.
Yeah. So we'll have to do this again.
We'll work it out.
Maybe do some astrology stuff. You can teach me something.
Oh, sure.
Or tell me why my astrology always feels crazy. Gemini Sun, Aquarius Moon, and Aries Rising.
Well, you just said it. It's that Aquarius. The Aquarius part is crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody who is in the chat. I apologize.
Thank you.
Really did not do anything with the chat because my keyboard, as I said, is way over here and my camera is way over there, and this weird, crazy setup. But thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a lot of fun. This was fun.
Yeah. This is
We definitely have to do it again.
We will. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Oh, my mouse is not there. It's like I told Val last time when I couldn't end it. I said, "Oh, we're gonna have to stay on here forever, Val."